Good evening, everyone. We are truly excited about our upcoming speech contest and welcome to judges training. It is my pleasure to introduce Lillian Cooke, our trainer for the evening.
All right, thank you, Wanda. And for those of you who don't know who Lillian is, I have been in Toastmasters for 20 years, actually almost 22 years. I have done the job that all of you are doing, sometimes more than once. So Wanda and I decided that we would hold this online session especially for area directors and division directors, because sometimes area directors feel overwhelmed when doing something for the first time. You can read the book, but it doesn't give you all the little things behind what the book is saying. So I am going to use the Toastmasters presentation, but add some little nuances you may not know about also. Okay, as you know, the district conference is April 17th and 18th, and the district is hosting 3 contests this year: the table topics contest, the evaluation contest, and the international speech contest. Now, for the table topics contest and the evaluation contest, there are no prerequisites for people to compete. You can be a brand new Toastmaster as long as your dues is paid and the club is in good standing with 8 or more paid members, you can compete. That's both table topics and evaluation. For international speech contest, unless it is a newly chartered club, a competitor must have completed at least 6 speeches in the Competent Communicator Manual or have achieved levels 1 and 2 in any Toastmasters path. So those are the prerequisites or non-prerequisites for the contest. Now, a lot of people have seen contests before, but until you do something yourself, you don't pay a lot of attention to it. So for table topics, if you are your own contest chair, or if you get a contest chair, realize that the contest chair is responsible for briefing all the contestants, having all the forms completed for the contestants, making sure you've got those and you bring them to the contest. When hosting the table topics contest, the contest chair picks out a table topics question. Keep it simple. Don't make it too difficult. Don't make it the most recent thing in the news, because everybody doesn't listen to the news. So just make it as simple as possible. For the table topics contest, people will draw for position. If you have more than 1 contestant, the first contestant stays in the room and the sergeant at arms escort contestants 2 through whatever out of the room. You will say the contestant's name, read the question twice, say the contestant's name, and then the contestant has 1 to 2 minutes to answer the question or scenario, whatever you put forward. After the contestant finishes speaking, there will be 1 minute of silence. The sergeant at arms should bring contestant number 2 into the room during that minute of silence. And then you will repeat the process. Contestant's name, read the question twice, contestant's name, and then the person gets to answer the question until all the contestants have finished. For the evaluation contest, you should have a test speaker present a 5 to 7 minute speech. I do believe the speech rule book says model speaker, test speaker. It goes back and forth, but that person will give a 5 to 7 minute speech. The contestants may take notes, may do whatever they want to do during that 5 minutes. During the speech. When the speech is over, the sergeant at arms will take the contestants out of the room. The only thing the contestants can take with them is the sheet that's provided in the evaluation contest kit. no electronic devices, no notes or anything else, just that one sheet. They will be given 5 minutes to make notes or do whatever they want to do. At the end of 5 minutes, the sergeant at arms will take everyone's notes from them except contestant number 1. The sergeant at arms will escort contestant number 1 back into the room. He or she will give a 2 to 3 minute evaluation. After they finish, there will be 1 minute of silence for the judges to mark their ballots. And then the sergeant at arms will bring in contestant number 2. Contestant number 2 will give a 2 to 3 minute evaluation, and you just follow that process until all the contestants have spoken. And that's basically it for table topics and evaluation. For international speech, it's the 5 to 7 minutes. No one has to leave the room. Everybody can stay in and hear everyone. Do I have any questions about any of the contests?
Sounds very succinct to me.
All right. If anyone needs a script for the contest, for all 3 contests, if you just like to have a script so you make sure you cover everything, you don't need anything, you don't leave anything off, let me know. My email address is d77area11director@gmail.com. It was in the Zoom invite that you received. Just send me an email and I will send you a script that will take you from, step by step on hosting your contest. Okay. All right, let's go into judges training. Okay, the 3 purposes of the speech contest, you can read the screen just like I can, but it's for to observe supposedly the best of the best so everyone can learn. But I encourage everyone to compete. If this is your first time in, competing in a contest, if you are a brand new Toastmaster, and especially table topics and evaluation, I encourage them to compete to stretch themselves, because you join Toastmasters to get better at communication and leadership. And the only way you can do that is to just do it. So if you have brand new Toastmasters, encourage them to go ahead and do that, okay? Judges have an obligation to the contestants to judge fairly, to Toastmasters International to use ethics, integrity, honesty, and obligation to the audience to pick the best person that day, and an obligation to themselves, as I said, to use integrity first. Judging is all about selecting a winner. It is not about evaluating. When you evaluate a person after a speech, you look for things that the person does well. You look at how the person does body movements, voice inflections, vocal variety, how they use props, anything like that. You give them suggestions for improvement. Judging is not that. We're going to look at the judging form in a minute and go through it. And judging is just picking a winner tonight. Who did the best tonight? I don't care how many times you've heard a person speak, how well you know a person, how well they've spoken before. If they flub it tonight, then you judge them accordingly. They just did not have it going tonight. Okay? It says judges' decisions are final. There is a way to protest. And if it doesn't come up in the slides, because it's been a while since I did this, somebody remind me and I'll tell you about protests. Good judges are accurate. Like I said, I'll talk about this more when we look at the form. You're fair, you're trustworthy, you're knowledgeable. So if you have not read the contest rule book, please do so. If you think you know the contest rules, read the book, because Toastmasters International would change something every year. And in the left-hand margin, there's a little diamond, and that diamond lets you know all the changes that occurred this year. Good listeners. Yeah. Barriers to objectivity. Some people judge the first speaker really well, and then you have no room for comparison for the next speakers. Someone judged them really harshly. Someone will give the last person a higher score, or because they've judged everybody else pretty low. So just be cognizant of that fact and try and be as objective as possible and judge everyone as to how he or she did tonight. Okay? Champion for the underdog. So let's say Wanda and I are competing against each other. And Wanda gives a speech for 5 to 7 minutes. She just wows the audience. She is flawless, does a really good job. I get up there after Wanda and I just forget my place. In the middle of my speech, I forget what I was going to say, and I just stand there for 10 seconds searching. Well, you feel sorry for me and you give me points. No, do not do that. You know, I just flubbed it that night, so don't be in a position or feel like you need to help the underdog. That's not helping that person to grow. And if that person is a true Toastmaster, has integrity, he or she will learn from this and do better next time. And then there's the halo effect. Same situation, same scenario. Wanda was flawless, so you give her top marks. I didn't flub mine, but I was very good too. And so, you know, there could be some question there. So you just look at how well I did, how well Wanda did, look at how we formed our words, how we did transitions from one thought to the other. Did the audience stay with us? Was the message effective? You know, look at all those things. Okay, second time around. I've heard this person speak before. They did really good last time. They didn't win, so I think I should mark them up so they can win this time. Don't do that. Again, how did the person perform tonight? Not the norm. You've got some people that are more animated than others, that are more humorous than others. And if that adds to the presentation, if that adds to the speech, then of course take that into consideration. But I was at a table topics contest in another district. The person that won did not even answer the question. He was just an eloquent speaker and just wowed the audience with what he said, but basically he didn't say anything. And I'm going, what were the judges thinking? So be careful with things like that. And prejudices and personal preferences. You may disagree with what I'm saying because you don't like the color blue. And I am just raving about blue. Well, that's a personal preference of yours. And don't mark the person down because you disagree with what he or she is saying. If it's not blue humor, which is, you know, something someone shouldn't be using anyway. If it's not curse words, then put your personal preferences aside and judge the presentation, not what was said during the presentation, okay? Know the rules. And the only way to know the rules is to read the rule book, be familiar with the judges form. Whoever your chief judge is for your contest, make sure he or she is familiar with all the judging forms. Make sure they can explain it because it's their job to brief all the contest officials. And make sure that they have read the rule book. If they don't read the entire book, then there's like 2 or 3 pages per contest. 2 or 3 pages for the table topics contest, for the evaluation contest, and for the international speech contest. Make sure they read those pages. Okay, here's the judges' ballot. This is for the international speech contest. The way I do it, the way actually the rule book recommends it, if you don't want to look at what you've given another speaker, okay, Wanda and I competing against each other again. Instead of putting Wanda's name in the number 1 section up top, put Wanda's name in number 10 and judge Wanda there. Then fold the right edge of your ballot over to cover what you gave Wanda, and then put my name in number 8, and then judge me there. And that way you may be a little more objective because you don't remember what you gave Wanda, and you're just judging me on me. And then when the contest is over, when everyone has spoken, then you can open it up, add up your numbers, and determine a winner. Now, always list your first, second, and third place contestant. If there are only 2, just list first and second. But some people aren't very good at math, so you may not want to use the 30 points for speech development. And if it's not 30 points, don't worry about it. My eyesight isn't the best. I've known people to use A, B, C, D, F, like you do for grades in school. I've known people to use 1 through 10 because it's easier to add. So however you determine to rank the speakers, make sure you follow that consistently so that you can come out with a first, second, and third place person. Always, always have the judges print their name and sign at the briefing, because after the contest, when you pick it up, if it's not signed, if it's not printed, then the ballot is no good.
Lillian, quick question.
Yes.
Do you ask the judges to sign that when it's given to them?
Yes.
Okay.
And yes, when I'm briefing them, I ask them to sign it before they leave the room. Okay. Judges, some judges take notes. Some judges use, like I just said, you can use other point values if you want to, the pluses and minuses. However you decide to judge the people, or you can tell your judges whatever is best for them. That's fine. They don't have to use the Toastmasters International recommended numbering system, but just be consistent from one contestant to the other. Okay. These are the 3 areas you look at in any speech contest. The international speech contest judges ballot is a little bit different than the others because it contains more categories. However, they all follow the same pattern. You're going to get content. Look at the speech development. Look at the effectiveness. Look at the speech value. If I get up and I talk about my trip to my aunt's house over the holidays, is that of value to the audience? So if you don't think it is, for excellent, you can get 15 points. For very good, you can get 11 to 14. Yeah. You might decide, okay, it was a good speech, but it had nothing to do with me. It did not enhance my life at all. So you can go with fair rating or good rating. So it's totally up to the judges how they want to do that. Then for delivery, you're going to look at physical, voice, and manner. Physical could be your body language. It could be how you're dressed. voice, your flexibility, your vocal variety, and your manner is, were you nervous? Were you twitching? Were you pacing? And when I say how you're dressed, it depends on the speech. If I talk about the time that I grew up on the farm and I was out picking cucumbers at 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm dressed in my Sunday morning best, that to me is not the appropriate dress for that speech. I should be wearing jeans or overalls or something to demonstrate how I dress when picking cucumbers at 8 o'clock in the morning. So the judges can look at things like that also. Appropriateness and correctness. Was the speech appropriate for the audience? If you talk about the murder rate in the last 3 years, is that appropriate to the audience? If you can tie it into a challenge, a charge to the audience, fine. But if you're just giving statistics or something like that, you know, challenge your judges to think about these things when they are judging. And correctness has to do with the Queen's English. In the South, we are lazy. We will use a lot of Southernisms. We will not enunciate the ending of our words. So judges are allowed to look at things like that also, because I've been told older people don't hear as well as they used to. So we need to enunciate word endings, because when we as Southerners don't put ing on the end of words, a lot of time older people will miss that because we're just lazy. So just, you know, you might want to tell your judges all kinds of things like this. Okay, we looked at development and all of this. I wish I'd known, well, like I said, it's been a while. Okay, a couple of other things I wanted to mention before I open it up for questions. For the International Speech Contest, if a contestant wants to use props, he or she must demonstrate to the contest chair that he or she can set the props up in 1 minute and take them down in 1 minute. That means if Wanda and I are competing, and Wanda is the first speaker, and I'm using props, when Wanda is done, there will be 1 minute of silence. I am allowed to set my props up during that 1 minute of silence, not before. Then when that 1 minute of silence is over, then the contest master is going to introduce me by name, speech title, name. I'm going to give my 5 to 7 minute speech, and when I'm done, there will be 1 minute of silence. I have to take my props away during that 1 minute. So if a contestant is going to use props, he or she has to demonstrate to the contest chair that they can do that and during that 1 minute before they speak, and take them away that 1 minute after they speak. When you are doing your agenda, area directors, division directors, do not list the name of the club of the contestant or the educational designation of the contestant. List the contestants in alphabetical order, and that's it. That's the way it's done at Toastmasters International, and that helps you keep the contest as fair as possible. Because if we list Lillian Cooke, Redstone Toastmasters, and we list Wanda Spillers, Wanda, your name of your club just went out of my head. Okay, but if we listening,
I'm sorry, Circle of Champions.
Okay, some people are gonna know, oh, I've heard of Circle of Champions, and they may give Wanda higher marks. Or, oh, I'm always hearing about them Redstone people. I'm tired of hearing about them, and they may give me lower marks. So do not list the club that the person is from, or like I said, the educational designation. Because if you list that and a person has a higher education designation, some judges may think, oh, well, they should be able to speak pretty well, and judge them more harshly. So we try to keep things as objective as possible, so there will be no complaints with the contest. Now, I went through the slides pretty fast, so let's open it up for questions.
Lillian, I have two things.
Yes.
This is June. First of all, I had no idea speech value related to the audience as well. I thought speech value meant the value of the speech, period, the information they're giving. Most of us don't mountain climb, but if anybody talks about that and they present it well, that's good enough for a speech. It doesn't have to relate to me. I didn't think it had to relate to the audience. It does?
It should. It's up to the judge, because you think about it, you're sitting there for 5 to 7 minutes. That's time you will never get back. So why should I listen to you for 5 to 7 minutes talk about mountain climbing? That's probably a good thing to do at the club, but at the area level or the district level, I wouldn't do that, because everybody doesn't associate with mountain climbing. And that's one of the things you want to make sure you can connect with your audience.
Interesting. Thank you, though. Thanks. Makes sense. Makes sense.
What's the second one?
Dress. I thought they always had to have business attire if it's not an international speech. I had no idea. If I see somebody in overalls, I would mark them down, even if they're talking about picking cucumbers. So that's new to me.
And like I say, that's up to the judges. See, I would probably do the opposite, because if you're telling me about picking cucumbers and you're in heels and a fancy dress, I grew up on a farm. I know you can't do that. And it's subjective. Judging is, you make it as objective as you can, but it's also subjective.
Okay, well, in my contest, I'll explain that at least to the judges, so that they'll know, and yes, and consider those factors. Definitely. All righty, but yeah, I can see this being the case, but yeah, it needs to be explained. Judges need to know. All righty, thank you.
I forgot to mention, because it wasn't on the slides, but I will mention at the area contest. Well, first, let me talk about the club. Just in case you didn't know it, a club does not have to host a speech contest. A club may determine, okay, we only have, nobody wants to compete, but we want to go to the area. Who wants to volunteer to speak? And Wanda will go, okay, I'll do all 3 contests since nobody else will volunteer. So that is okay at the club level. The club can pick a contestant any way they want to. And one contestant may compete in all 3 contests if he or she so desires. At the area level, according to the speech contest rule book, you need 5 voting judges. You need a chief judge, a tiebreaker judge, 2 timers, and 3 ballot counters. However, if you only have 3 clubs in your area, if you can get a judge from each club, or preferably 2 judges from each club, that will work. The rule book says there must be an equal number of voting judges from each club in the area, or a minimum of 5 voting judges. So either or. If you can get a judge from each club and you've got 7 clubs in your area, fantastic. You need 7 judges if all 7 clubs are participating. If you have 3 clubs and you get a judge from each club, that works. Like I said, I would prefer to have 2 from each club, but I understand some clubs are small. It's hard to get people to participate sometimes. So that's for the area level. At the division level, there must be an equal number of voting judges from each area or a minimum of 7 voting judges, plus the chief judge, plus the tie-breaking judge, plus 2 timers, and 3 ballot counters. At the area level, it may be hard to have all of those contest officials. If I have used the timers to help me count ballots to make sure I've got 3 ballot counters. So if the chief judge has to do that, that is fine, as long as you've got 3 people there with that judge's tally form. The chief judge will brief all the contest officials. The chief judge should have all of the voting judges' forms. They should have the chief judge ballot and the timer sheet, the judge's tally sheet, the notification of winner sheet. The tiebreaker judge should not be briefed. He or she should remain as anonymous as possible. Put their ballot in an envelope if possible and pass it to him or her discreetly. The tie-breaking judge's ballot is looked at only if there is a tie when you tally all the voting judges. If there is no tie, you don't even need to look at the tie-breaking judge's ballot. If there is a tie, the tie-breaking judge has to rank all speakers. If there are 7 speakers, the tie-breaking judge has to rank 1 through 7. And if there's a tie as a result of the regular voting judges, then the tie-breaking judges' rankings come into bearing. Any questions about that?
I have a question, Lillian, about the area contest.
Mm-hmm.
For the areas, do we align them according to our district performance?
What do you mean?
For example, area 23 is listed in Toastmasters dashboard as being in area 32. But if our alignment has that different, which one do we go by for our area? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. You go by where the area is located. If it should be area, what did you say it should be?
61 or 62.
Okay, then it should be aligned with the rest of the areas instead of making it 20 whatever. Yeah, it should be 60 whatever.
Okay, and that's according to the dashboard. Toastmasters International dashboard.
If the Toastmasters International dashboard is incorrect, then you do it correctly.
Okay, understood. Good answer.
Okay.
Lillian.
Yes.
This is Hattie. I have a question, and
Okay.
it wasn't in the slides.
Okay.
Since the clubs are smaller, may not have a lot of people, is it permissible for the contest master and the chief judge to be the same person?
It shouldn't be, but the clubs can do basically whatever they want because Toastmasters International recognizes some clubs are small. Because if you say you've got 8 members in your club, I can almost guarantee you all 8 don't attend at one time.
Right.
And like I said, the club does not have to hold the contest if it only has 1 competitor.
Okay. So my question is this: with our club, none of our members are going to be officials for the contest. We are attempting to get other officials from other clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So can the chief judge hold any other position other than chief judge?
Like I said, they shouldn't, because see, the contest chair is going to brief the contestants, and then the chief judge is supposed to brief the contest officials.
Are you using contest chair and contest master interchangeably?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure of that.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And I guess one person could do it all.
Okay, so what you're saying, I do need a contest master, chief judge, a tie-breaking judge, and then I'll need 3 regular judges.
Or more, if you can have more, yes.
But I can work with just that number, right?
Correct.
Okay, then 2 counters and two timers,
3
3 counters. Okay, all right. That's what I need to know, because our club is planning to have our contest on February the 11th, which doesn't give us a lot of time. So I've got to start contacting other clubs in an attempt to get people to fill these spots. And I'm sure that counters and timers could come from our club members that are not participating.
Or if you can get them from other clubs, then your club members can be your judges. Or, you know,
I wouldn't want my club members to be judges.
Yeah, that's fine.
No.
That's fine.
No, because most of our members are brand new.
Brand new. Okay.
And so and it seems as if it would make it a bit biased if our judges were judging our own club members, because these are the people we hear speak every week. And who I really like, Miss Hattie. And when she speaks, oh, great, she's great. She can't do anything wrong, kind of thing.
But then that's when the chief judge has to talk about integrity. I don't care how many times you've heard Miss Hattie speak. You judge Miss Hattie on what she does tonight.
Right.
And just so everybody knows, area directors, division directors, any district officer may not compete.
And something I want to remind everyone, the current, I don't know if they changed it online, but I know the printed versions haven't changed, of the handbook for contest has some rules about the number of judges you have to have. And Toastmasters announced at the convention that they were disqualified. They were taking that out and going back to last year's, because basically the way they had it, I mean, we would have to have a lot more judges at area, division, and district than is humanly possible in some cases. And so that rule goes back to the number of judges from last year's rule book.
Actually, the way it's stated this year, I have no problem with it this year. I like the way it's stated this year.
I did too. But I have a question along that lines. Is that counting ballot counters too? Because at club level and area level, it's changed to 2 ballot counters and then going to 3 at the division and district levels. So is that going back to last year's too then?
I do not think so.
Okay.
They didn't specifically mention that, Jessica.
Okay.
It wasn't worded like that.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking at the verbiage here and it doesn't mention, yes it does, yes it does. Okay, never mind. So yeah, it talks about 2 counters, but if you take the 2 timers with you as the chief judge, if you don't have any more people, then you still got 3 counters. I'd just like to have 3 people, because one time I screwed up the numbers and put them backwards, and the Toastmaster was the contest master was just about to announce the winner, and it dawned on me, Lillian, you screwed up. Oh, and while I'm talking about that, let's talk about protests. The only protest you should have would be for the international speech contest. And the only thing you can protest is eligibility and originality. For a person to be eligible to compete in the international speech contest, they must be a paid member of a paid club, have at least completed 6 speeches in the Competent Communicator Manual, and achieve levels 1 and 2 of any Toastmasters path. So if they do not meet that eligibility criteria, that's a protestable thing. When they're giving their speech, the speech must be substantially original. According to the rule book, no more than 25% of the speech may be quoted, sung, poem, whatever. So that's originality. The only people that may protest are other contestants and judges, and they should protest to the chief judge. If there is a protest, the judge or the contestant has to get to the chief judge as soon as possible. While they're out of the room tallying the ballots would be the perfect time to do that, because if you wait until it's announced, too late then. So if there's a protest, the person protesting should get to the chief judge as soon as possible. The chief judge should, as discreetly as possible, call all the judges out. I mean, you know, it's gonna happen. You could say something like, hey, we have a timing issue, we have a legibility issue, whatever. You know, I don't say lie about it, but try to get the judges out, and then the person who the protest was launched against gets to defend him or herself to the judges. You can set a time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. When that time is up, then the contestant who the protest was against has to leave, and then the judges has to vote unanimously whether this, I have to look it up, I can't remember if it's unanimous or majority, has to vote on whether they agree with the protest or disagree with the protest. I don't foresee that happening. I've only seen it happen once in my 22 years of Toastmasters.
Thank you, Lillian. I have a comment. One of the things we learned at our training, the mid-year training we just finished, was that last year there were disqualifications for eligibility. Eligibility is something that we should check for all of our contestants. So it was shocking to hear at the regional level, you know, after the district, they had people that were disqualified due to eligibility. So that's one thing that we can and we must do, is to make sure that our contestants, well, actually all of our participants are members in good standing and a club in good standing. And a club in good standing must have at least 8 members.
And area directors, division directors, did you know you can go into district business and download your membership file for your area? You can see when everyone joined Toastmasters. You can see when if they paid dues, if their dues is current. You can look at the dashboard to see if the club is current, or you can look at that membership roster and see how many are paid to see if they're current. As Wanda said, you must have 8 paid members. And I have a club in my area. I've been talking to them, I've been preaching to them. They only have 7 members, and I've told them, I cannot use you as contest officials. You cannot participate in the contest. because you are not a club in good standing.
Very good.
Another question, Lillian, you mentioned that for the international, the minimum speech requirements, at what point must they meet those minimum requirements?
What you mean, at what point?
That they've given given at least 6 speeches in the CC manual or completed 2 levels in pathways.
They must have done that before the club contest. The speech you give at the contest may not be speech number 6 from the Competent Communicator Manual, or may not be your 6th speech from the Competent Communicator Manual, or it may not be the last speech for your level. So you must have completed those before the date of the club contest.
Understood. I have another question, Lillian.
Okay.
At the club level, if you have only one contestant, and I do recall you saying one contestant could participate in all 3 contests, they only need to time qualify at the club to go forward.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
They do not have to time qualify. If they can just say, I'll represent the club, and the club goes, okay. But if they do, you want to do that at the club level,
yes,
then you're correct. They must qualify on time.
Yes. Now, what if that same person moves forward to the area, and this particular area only has that member as a participant?
Then at the area level, the person must compete against the clock and come in on time.
Okay.
Okay. They don't have to compete against the clock at the club level, right? The clubs can choose their contestants any way they want to.
Correct. But at the area, they do.
In District 55, which is the district that I came from before coming here, most clubs, we chose to do the clock, competing against the clock. And what we would do is meet with our member to strengthen their speech.
Gotcha.
That was just a common practice.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good practice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I like what you said, and I really thank you, because we've had a lot of great questions tonight. And no matter how long you've been in Toastmasters, it is a ongoing learning experience. And just like you said, a lot of times from year to year, even Toastmaster International will change some of the rules. And so we have to make sure we know the rules and that we're following those rules.
Correct. Okay, we've got about 9 minutes left. Some of you have been very quiet. Do we have any questions? Okay, I guess everybody's ready to host their contest. Area directors, Hattie was saying that they were going to reach out to other clubs to come and help them support their contest. As the area director, I did that for my area. We are our geographic footprint is not very large, so it would be easy for our clubs to support each other. So I sent out an email to all the clubs in the area asking them to support each other and ask them when they're hosting their contest. So I could have people from Tennessee Valley come and support Redstone, and people from Higher Heights come and support Redstone. And Redstone can go support Tennessee Valley and Higher Heights. As a matter of fact, I was in Kentucky this past weekend at a business conference, and I sent one of the guys from my club to go scout out another club and invite them personally to come and help us with our contest. And so Hattie, I understand what you're saying. The more people you can get, support you can get from other clubs, the better it's going to be for your club too, because then your club gets to see, oh, well, you know, they'll come and help us. We can go help them. And then those people that come to help you, then they'll hear a different speaker. And you can invite your people to go to visit other clubs to hear a different speaker, to see how things are done. I love to go visit other clubs, and when they screw up something, I go, okay, I'm glad our club doesn't do that. And then when they do something I like, ooh, I'm gonna steal that and take it back to my club. So that's one reason to go visit other clubs, so you can steal things, the best of the best, and take it back to your club and make it even better.
It's not stealing, it's just borrowing.
Hey, Wanda, I had a 3-star general tell us, if you see an idea you like, steal it.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Yes, good night.
Thank you, Lillian, for presenting.
You are welcome.